Today's episode is brought to you by the Unity Group of Atlanta, your ultimate business resource solution in competing for government-based contracts and grants. For more information, send all inquiries to info@theunitygroup.com. Once again, for more information, send all inquiries to info@theunitygroup.com.
You are listening to People with a Purpose on the Better You Network and A to Zen.fm channel.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Better You Network. I am Roger Vaughn, and I'm joined by my co-host Stacy Vaughn, and we are the Unity Group, LLC, where we educate, mentor, and train businesses on how to compete for federal and state and local government contracts and also grants. And today we have a very special guest with us that's near and dear to my heart. The fact that this gentleman is a veteran of the United States Army, and his name is Leland Smith of Solid Hires. And I want to say welcome to the show, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And first off, we also, as always, appreciate your service to our country.
I appreciate that.
So. With that being said, Stacey, what type of questions do you have for Mr. Smith?
So, Mr. Smith, you retired from the Army. What did you do for the Army?
Yes, I did. And when I first started out in the military, I was actually in armor. So that was when I was in my youth, and I loved all the gung-ho type stuff. So, so started out there and did that for the first 12 years of my career, going all over the world, from Germany, deployed to Somalia, places like that. After the 12 first years, I went into recruiting. And so I stayed in recruiting for the remainder of the time in the military, which gave me the opportunity to go out into the community and help more in that type of way.
So you probably saw quite a bit with the recruiting in the different locations, huh?
Absolutely. It's a big difference between the metro areas and the rural areas.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And also from north and south as well.
Right.
So you see a lot of differences.
So in your 20-some-odd years, how many times did you move?
I would say at least 10 times.
At least 10 times?
At least 10 times.
And what was your favorite duty station?
Favorite duty station, I would say, would be Lexington, Kentucky.
Really?
Yes, it was very beautiful. One of the most beautiful cities that I've ever had the opportunity to live in. The weather was a little cold for my taste, but other than that, the family really enjoyed it. A lot of great opportunities for the family. And, of course, as long as the wife loves it. Loved it.
Yeah.
You're in there. You know what? You're in there.
That's it.
So what motivated you to go into the military?
Well, the city I came out of is a small town in Jefferson, Georgia. It's about 60 miles east of Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
And not a lot of opportunities there for the youth. And I'd always loved traveling when I could. And so that was my inspiration to join the military, was the fact that I wanted to go out and travel. And I loved what the military stood for. And so I went to the recruit station one day.
Be all you can be, huh?
And that's right.
Well, just so you know, Andy, our man here that keeps us on track, is also a native Georgian. So he's very, 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 very happy about that. You know. So, and she was from Marietta.
Okay.
He's a local. Homegrown.
So it's a pleasure to have two, because we don't see that. We don't see that very much here.
It's unique in Georgia, because especially in Atlanta, there's a lot of people that move from other areas.
Right. So what do you think was your biggest reward in being in the military for 20-some-odd years?
The biggest reward was the opportunities for my family, just to see the world, the opportunities as far as education. They were able to be exposed to a lot of things that probably wouldn't have seen if I would have stayed in Little Jefferson, Georgia. So,
right.
So that was the biggest reward. And other than that, all my children were able to move on from there and attend college and do those sort of things. So I think all those experiences for them was the biggest reward for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you for my two military brat kids that they make friends fairly quickly, you know,
Definitely.
even when they went off to college. You know, my son actually was joking, told Roger that, you know, he was worried more about the big wheel than he was worried about making friends, you know?
Exactly. But you see the difference now.
You do.
You know, as they move on, they can interact better with different types of individuals. No matter what the background is, they can get along with just about everyone. So I'm glad they had that opportunity.
So, Leland, tell us a little bit about Solid Hires and what motivated you to do what you do.
Well, when I retired from the military, my wife and I, we both were out in the job market, looking around and seeing what was available. And so we attended a lot of the job fairs that were out there. One of the big things that everybody loves to set up events for veterans.
Right.
And so one of the things we noticed, though, that the resources that were available were few and far between when you actually went through and checked out what was brought into those events. There was a lot of people handing out business cards, telling you to go to their websites, that sort of thing. So I kept that always in the back of my mind as something that, it can be done better.
Right.
But of course, I had to go into somewhere. So I went and started work at Edward Jones Investments. And I was a trainer for those guys. But I still had that passion inside to eventually go back and do something about that issue that I seen earlier. And so after leaving Edward Jones, we moved back down to Georgia. And at that point, I actually started working for a university that was actually going out and trying to help veterans continue their education. And so that was when I was exposed again to that environment. And it had worsened since my initial experience with them, to the point where seems like it was all about what the employers or the schools were wanting to accomplish, not so much what the veterans needed.
So, you always say opportunity.
Where there's a problem, there presents an opportunity.
Absolutely. So one day on the way home, it was raining. I was way back from, I think, Charleston, South Carolina, matter of fact, and I just conducted an event. And I called my wife on the phone, and I said, you know what, we're going to take a leap of faith here, and we're going to go out and start an organization that can address that concern of making sure they had the resources that they need, the additional follow-up, and things in place besides just someone saying they want to hire them, but yet want to put them through a long, torturous process. So came home, we got on the computer, started a website, created the addresses, the whole nine, and started the business. And we started reaching out to all the folks that we knew in the community. And we decided that we would put all those things in place and make sure that that's what the veterans would see every time they walked into one of our events, with all the resources that they needed to follow up and make sure that someone actually had their interests at hand.
So kind of an ultimate, I don't call it one stop, I call it the ultimate package for a veteran to come and know about entrepreneurship, or if they want to go work corporate. Also, what other things are you offering to them at those events?
Right, and also resume assistance, and not just someone that can walk in and say, okay, I'm going to put some red marks on the paper and you need to go and get that fixed. We actually have it where you walk in, we give the advice, but at the same time, we'll fix it on the spot.
Okay.
And so they'll have that going forward prior to looking at another event or maybe applying for different jobs.
Right.
Also, there's unique things that, of course, we have to address with veterans, whether it be PTSD or those health issues that a lot of employers are not well educated on. So we try to train those folks as well on the plights of the veteran, the unique circumstances, and plus the unique skills that they bring to the table. And so we educate them as well as provide the resources that those individuals need to become better employers.
So, and then you are also doing this throughout the Southeast area, right?
Yes. We concentrate on the Southeast. We wanted to make sure that we did not spread ourselves too thin, because one of the things that we obtained from surveying the veterans was the fact that they wanted consistency. They wanted to see the same people. A lot of these folks that schedule these type of events, they'll come in and you won't see them again for 8-9 months, and there's no follow-up in between. So we decided to stay in the Southeast. There's a huge veteran and military population here in the Southeast, and a lot of those folks are unemployed, or for the worst case, they're underemployed. So they don't have the jobs that they deserve. So we want to make sure that we go out and take those opportunities to the community.
So would you say that you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's something that, I always had the skills for. I mean, in recruiting, we were basically entrepreneurs.
Yeah, really. Think that's true.
That's true. So I had to utilize those skills to reach out and be able to use those skills that I obtained from being in the military to share that with them. So I think I've always wanted to go into business. And my wife, she's been bothering me forever, saying that that's what I needed to do.
Well, one of the things that, you mentioned earlier that, about your military career, what your greatest reward, was for being in the military. I want to take it a step further. And what has been your greatest reward with the business you've started thus far?
Absolutely helping veterans, helping fellow veterans. The look on their faces when you can refer them to someone that can actually help them, not just give them lip service. But when you can actually have that person call you back and say, thank you, I got the job that I was looking for, or I received the resources that I needed in order to put myself in a better position, that's the reward for us. And, the thing we love is if you would do it for free, then that means you found something you love. So
Yeah, we were just having that discussion earlier about sometimes, unfortunately, free doesn't keep the roof over our head and food on the table,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you have to balance it, but at the same time, I think if you focus on helping others first, then you'll get your rewards in the end anyway.
Right. So one of the things that we know, a lot of people don't know, that you work with your wife.
Yes.
And how's that?
It's a gift.
Be
and a
careful
curse.
how you answer.
I
This
know.
will go out on air. She will be able to hear it.
No, it is a gift actually, and it can be tough sometimes as well because that's your toughest critic.
It is your toughest critic, huh?
But she's also my, but we're also each other's biggest cheerleader.
Right.
So, but it helps push me, and on the days when one of us feels like we're just too tired to keep moving on, it's good to be able to look over your shoulder and see that person is back there saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay." And that also believes just as much as you do in the vision you have and the goals that you have for your organization. So.
Right. And I think we were just having this conversation with another entrepreneur that sometimes you need another person who understands that to pick you up on the days that you're really struggling.
Yes.
To why am I doing this
Absolutely.
today? Sometimes we all get there and it's hard not to have that support system. And sometimes we feel, as a husband-wife team also, that when one of us is having a tough day, it's easier, the other person is trying to pick up the other person at that point.
Right. But it's good also to sit back and watch her grow.
Exactly.
And see her, just be so happy and being a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another big reward for me to sit back and watch her grow and love what she does. So.
Have you found it difficult, though, at times to separate business from the personal aspect of a marriage?
Yes, that is a challenge.
I'm serious.
And it's probably more from my end because it's tougher for me to kind of put it down sometimes, just based on my military background.
That's her.
So, so she'll have to pull me, and that's one of the things, one of those benefits, once again, is that she'll say, hey, it's time to shut it down, because I can look up sometimes and it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still plugging away. So, but at the same time, I realized that, hey, if I need to take a break, I can.
Well, and with you're juggling with family.
Yes.
You got a little one still at home.
Yes, and he takes up a lot, a lot of time. But he knows our motto and everything. He comes in and he thinks he works for the business as well.
You're starting them young, huh?
Yeah, and we always tell him, you're part of this business as well.
Oh, that's great.
And
yeah.
so he feels like he's a part. He'll come down and say, well, I can make phone calls for you if you need me to.
Oh.
So yeah, he does his part. So, but he knows when we're busy and we keep him, busy doing other things. But yeah, it's a team effort.
It is a team effort.
Yes.
Roger and I talked to a lot of sole proprietors, and we're like, you need to find a mentor, advisor to get you through that hump, because you don't have all the answers by yourself. Are you going to say, self, should I do this? Or self, should I do that? It's kind of hard.
Right.
Where when you have someone, internally, that often makes life a little less stressful
Yes,
sometimes in that perspective. And I can say that, hats off to you. I know a lot of people are like, but there's more. The ratio of husband and wife teams out there are moving fairly fast these days, because we're all almost, Roger and I have this, we're almost to the point, if we worked for corporate, they can afford both of us.
Absolutely. And it's all about just knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and that's what we try to build on. When we first started, I understood that she was better at some things than I could ever think about.
Yeah.
And she knew my strengths. And
Right.
so we made sure going into it that we established, okay, these are the things that you should concentrate on. And of course, it's some collaboration at times, but I yield to her expertise, and she does the same thing with me. But there's some head knocking. That's just being married.
Well, yeah, you're gonna get that, and it's healthy.
Right.
It can be healthy. It's good because if one person is taking the lead on everything, it could get out of kilter. So that being said, Andy, you are listening to this, right? I see your head going up north and south. That's good. I like that. We'll be right back with you in a minute.
Today's episode is brought to you by CoLab. CoLab serves entrepreneurs by creating a collaborative environment for mentor-driven startup acceleration, business planning, and access to potential investors and customers. CoLab's passion is creatives and small business owners. For more information, visit Colab at colab.is. Again, for more information, visit Colab at colab.is. Have you recently started a business, or are you thinking about doing so?
Wondering where to start? Looking for advice, or just want to share your story?
If you answered yes, the Better You Network wants to hear from you.
To be a guest on one of our shows, please contact us via Twitter at BetterYouProject or email us at thebetteryouproject@gmail.com.
Come join us and inspire others.
This offer only valid in the United States and Canada.
You are listening to People with a Purpose on the Better You Network and A to Zen.fm channel.
So we are here with Leland Smith with Solid Hires. So what was the hardest part of your journey of starting this business?
Well, the hardest part that we've seen so far is just getting others to believe in that same goal that we have. Even though they may say that they're supporting the same people that we are,
Right.
sometimes we just don't see that same effort
Right.
going forward. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is just to share that information with as many people as possible and really, really try to convince them that it is worth them spending a little bit of extra time and resources to provide those type of skills and resources that we think the veterans deserve.
I know previously we've talked to other entrepreneurs about, where they got support from, and most of them said family, which is obviously a great one to have that support from. But aside from family, and I'm sure, family has been a big support to you, where have you gotten other great support from?
The greatest support we've seen is from the folks that I had relationship with in the military.
Okay.
And there are lots of those still in the metro area.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that actually, started as our sort of like our foundation as we went into business, because a lot of those folks were actually our initial partners
Right.
in the business, because a lot of them worked for different companies, universities, that sort of thing. So they allowed us to get ourselves off the ground, so to speak, by saying, hey, we're here with you. We're going to ride it. No matter how bumpy the ride is, we're going to get in there with you. And so they stayed with us, and now they're seeing the success as well.
Well, we call it one of the biggest fraternities, really.
Absolutely.
Being a military and being part of that whole understanding of moving, transitioning. As we tell our children to adapt, overcome,
That's it.
So what's the biggest hurdle that you guys have had to overcome last year that you guys have been in business?
Well, the biggest things when you first start out, of course, it's a crowded arena out there as far as what we do. Like I said earlier, so many organizations are out there saying we support veterans, we hire veterans. So the biggest hurdle was the fact of getting our name out there and really explaining to people the difference between us and other organizations that are doing the same type of thing. For one, we're veteran owned,
Right.
and so we walk the walk, and so it allows us to talk a little bit better. Secondly, the things that we provide, not just a business card and a handshake, but also providing those resources and follow up. So that's been the biggest hurdle so far, is just getting out there and just weeding through everything else and making sure that our message gets out there. But it's starting to resonate a little bit.
Well, and I think some of the things you are doing is more process oriented in some outcomes, where a lot of it, when you go to these job fairs, you're giving it and they're going, well, just send it to me email. What are you guys doing that's a little different in that perspective?
Well, one of the things a little different is we sit down prior to our events with all our partner agencies, schools, resources, and we make sure, first of all, that you understand what our goals are, what our visions are. And we have to make sure that they align with theirs as well. So they understand that this is going to be a journey and it's not just to come in and leave. So that's the first thing we do. So they agree to provide the follow-up. So instead of just go to the website, it's more of I'll pick up the phone and I'll follow up with them. I can have the conversation with these hiring managers where I can ask them, how's it going with Matthew Johnson? How far along is he in the process? And they agree to pick up the phone and say he's at this point. And so that allows us to not only continue to follow up and make sure they're moving along the right path, but also it lets the person know that they are important, not just to us, but to our partners as well.
So, and Matthew, if you're out there, you're doing okay. Okay, so I just want you to know that. Thought I'd kick that in there.
Well, and that's great, because I think one of the other things it says you're going to work on spouses at some point, right?
Yes. because the spouse, they serve just as much as the military member. They may not deploy and all those things, but they have to go through all the heartaches and pains of staying behind, and a lot of times that's just as tough. So we want to make sure that they are provided the same level of resources and employers as their husbands and wives that are serving as well.
Yeah, domestic engineering doesn't pay well.
Right. And I think one of the things that we're seeing out there is that a lot of spouses, once again, they've been offered a lot of opportunities, but once again, I don't think a lot of times it's what they really deserve.
Right.
A lot of people are shortchanging them. They're offering them certain positions, but not really saying, hey, you can elevate as far as your education as well. You can work for a Fortune 500 or open your own business as well.
Right.
And so we're offering them things that I think, is a little bit below what they deserve. So that's one of our focuses, make sure that they get the same amount of attention as our military members.
Well, you mentioned PTSD earlier, as far as what the companies, are concerned about in a lot of aspects. And we have discussed this in the past, but, when it comes to the family, to include the spouse, obviously the spouse and the children that may or may not be involved in that aspect, how do you approach that with a family member as far as that, because PTSD can affect them as well, or the side effects from the actual member affects the spouse as well. Right. So how do you deal with that?
And that's a good question. And one of the things that we provide is, once again, is those resources that can address that, because they need to sit down and be able to talk to someone,
right,
and someone really explain what that means and what those signs look like, and how it feels to be in that position. And so it's more than just the job itself. We have to make sure that this person is prepared mentally, physically, to do the job, not just the military member, but also the spouse. If they're dealing with that, that may cause them some issues,
right,
and that may hinder them from gaining the employment they deserve. So we reach out to a lot of agencies that are well versed in dealing with those conditions, such as PTSD and the symptoms, and we actually have those folks in place. So if a spouse wants to come in and sit down for a seminar or training, we can provide that for them, so they can receive that training. And once again, the follow-up piece being most important, so we can see how that's going and how they're dealing with that in the home and how it's affecting them as well. And that allows them to realize that, it's not my fault. This is something that, unfortunately, is a byproduct of deployments and those sort of things. So it lets them be able to just express themselves and feel better about the whole process.
It's it's almost at the point now that even though the spouses are left behind, it's almost like they deploy in their mind with them, right along with them to a certain degree.
Yes.
So, and, with that being said, dealing with this, what, do you have any unforgettable or funny stories when, in this aspect of dealing with solid hires? Or I go back as far as we all have stories about the military, but we'll stay with solid hires right now.
That's a whole nother segment.
Yeah.
Right. It's not really a funny story, but there's some funny instances that came across where people, like you said earlier, they don't really understand PTSD and that sort of thing.
Right.
So we've worked with folks who are dealing with that, but the other folks did not know that. So they would come up to us throughout the event, coming up with complaints and saying, what's wrong with this person, what's happening. And that gives us that opportunity to explain to them, because they met the person earlier and the person was jovial and everything. And all of a sudden it was like
it's a whole nother personality.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's one of those things. And it's strange watching people who are not used to that, just watching them deal with it. And, but I look at it as an opportunity, whereas it looks sort of strange from looking at it from a distance. Then I look at that, hey, that's an opportunity now to sit down and explain to them, this is something that you may encounter when you're dealing with some of our veterans.
Right.
And have you ever, thought about that process of making sure that they still are comfortable in their work environment, and what you need to do to make sure you can provide all the things they need. So
you're doing a lot of hands-on through this process with whoever comes through the door, veteran-wise, spousals, that kind of stuff.
Lots of hands-on, because that's what they need.
Right.
A lot of times people are referring them to websites, because there's so many sites and things out there they can go to, but we have to make sure that they know how to maneuver through those things.
Right.
And so we try to take it from the basics and walk them through that. And yes, it's time-consuming and it takes a lot of effort, but that's just what it takes. We have to roll up our sleeves. And for everyone who's saying they're supporting veterans, that's what we have to do. We have to roll up the sleeves because it's a lot of work.
And ironically, what you're talking about is what we talk about to businesses that want to get into government contracts and grants. There's a lot out there, but it's overwhelming to figure out what's the beginning process to start the game, start the life, really. And we call, the transitioning from military life to the real world, because it's a whole nother ball game. When you've lived on a military base, you've traveled, you've had people pack up your bags for you, that kind of stuff. It's a whole nother situation versus when you go live in the real world and you got to figure out who's a good doctor, where's a good school for your kids, those kind of things. So some of the stuff you're doing is really community-based efforts, right?
Right. And it takes, like they say, it takes a village.
It does take a village. It definitely is. So with that being said, with the taking a village, that kind of stuff, how do you and LaJewel handle balance of family with working together?
He's already answered that. I don't know why you're going back to that question.
Well, LaJewel will probably appreciate hearing it again, but
okay.
So then you see, she asked you that twice, so that means there's something you need to focus on. But I mean, it's over the process we've learned to shut it down. Mm-hmm. It was difficult at first,
right?
But there will be nights, as you mentioned earlier, that we will, burn the midnight oil a bit. But we understand also if we feel like sleeping to 12 next day, that's okay too.
Yeah.
So that's the balance that we figured out now.
As long as the 6-year-old says it's okay to sleep until 12.
There you go. Most of those mornings are on school days. So. So after he gets on the bus.
So what's your biggest advice for people who are in your same space, business space wise?
Surround yourself by people that are smarter than you.
Ooh, okay.
And don't be afraid of that. And that goes for anything. But and that's one of the ways we met you guys.
Yes, actually.
Because when it comes to what you do, you're the experts. And that's one of the things we're figuring out as well as we go along. We're doing so much ourselves, but there are people out there that can do some of those systems and other things that we have to do on a day-to-day better than us.
Right.
And so it's just a matter of getting in touch with those folks and using our network as well. And like you said earlier, the veteran network is the biggest and I think most talented network out there. So we're tapping into that a lot more.
I totally agree. Just for those of you who are out there, how we come to know Leland is through something that is what we hope to be a powerful, powerful voice, not only for veterans, but for Capitol Hill. I'm just going to put it out there. It's the United States Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We're getting a chapter started here in Atlanta, and it's actually growing by leaps and bounds even as we speak. So if there are any other veterans out there that are listening or will be listening, please feel free to get in contact with us or Leland or even the network itself, and they'll give you all the information based upon what it's all about.
So we were talking about resources here. So what other great connections have you found since you guys started your business?
Well, we've realized that the resume process is a little bit different when we're dealing with federal and dealing with government. So what we looked at is bringing in someone who's an expert in that. You have a lot of people that do the same thing that we do that bring in a general resume service.
Right.
And there's more to it when you're dealing with someone who served 20, 25 years in the military and deciphering that information and make sure it translates into civilian language. And so one of the things we did is reach out to a agency based out of Washington that agrees to not only evaluate those resumes, but actually construct them for the military. And we do that not only in person, but we also do that virtually.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's very nice. So we talked about connections. What would be a connection that you're trying to get right now that would help?
Right now, they have the 100,000 Jobs Initiative out there.
Right.
And I think J.P. Morgan Chase is one of the organizations that's heading that right now.
Right.
So we're trying to create that dialogue between those folks. And because once we can tap into that, I think we can reach a lot more of the companies that's saying they want to help veterans.
Right.
And so we're that pathway here in the Southeast. So if you truly want to help them, then Solid Hires will put you in front of them. Well,
just to caveat on that before we go to break, that is going to be something that we're going to hit straight on is, if you're really interested in doing this, then come talk to us because it is very important and you're getting to some of the best, most trained people that you'll ever run into. That being said, we'll be back to finish up in a minute.
Have you recently started a business or are you thinking about doing so?
Wondering where to start? Looking for advice or just want to share your story?
If you answered yes, the Better You Network wants to hear from you.
To be a guest on one of our shows, please contact us via Twitter at BetterYouProject or email us at thebetteryouproject@gmail.com.
Come join us and inspire others.
This offer only valid in the United States and Canada.
Today's episode is brought to you by the DUnity Group of Atlanta, your ultimate business resource solution in competing for government-based contracts and grants. For more information, send all inquiries to info@theunitygroup.com. Once again, for more information, send all inquiries to info@theunitygroup.com. And we're back with Mr. Leland Smith of Solid Hires. Leland, as we went on break, we were talking about the 100,000 Vets Initiative that J.P. Morgan was having. So, that being said, what's next? What's next for you, and where do you see yourself in your company going in the not too distant future?
Well, one of the things we want to do, and hopefully going through that 100,000 Jobs Initiative, is to partner up with those agencies. So when we go into these cities throughout the Southeast and we conduct these events, we have companies that the job seekers can depend on being at those events. So, for instance, if J.P. Morgan Chase says, I want to join you in Atlanta, Georgia, for every one of your events, the job seekers know. Even if I may miss something that I need to gain employment with that organization right now, they're going to be there in the long run. So as I work on those skills, I know when I come back to Atlanta, maybe on that third event, if I go out there and make sure I'm now, matching what they're looking for, that I can gain employment with the organization. So we're looking for companies and organizations in each one of our target cities to come on board with us to say, I'm going to be there with you every time you come to Atlanta or Charleston or Fort Gordon. And so it builds that relationship that we're looking for, that consistency that the job seekers are looking for. And so that's what we see coming up here, hopefully soon. Okay. As far as the company, we want to be the premier go-to for the veterans and the military community and their spouses in the Southeast and beyond this year, hopefully expanding that reach into other parts of the United States as well. So
talk about the events of the Southeast with some of the cities that you're going to be in. If you have some of the dates, that might be really good too.
Yes. Some of the ones we have coming up here, we actually are going to be in Augusta next week on the 28th. We're going to be there from 10 to 2, and we are expecting at least 30 employers right now. Great. And hopefully we're talking about 400 to 500 job seekers coming in for that particular event. That's going to be conducted at the Barney Hill Community Center. And so we're expecting a lot of interaction between not only the employers that we're bringing in, but we're also bringing in some local resources as well. For the next month, we have Charleston. We're actually going to do an event in North Charleston. That's going to be on March the 27th.
Okay. And
that's going to be at the Holiday Inn Airport. And so that is going to be one of our bigger events. We have already some major Fortune 500 companies coming into that event, a lot of resources. So we're really looking forward to that one. And in April, we have 2 events.
Yeah.
We busy.
Yes.
That's good.
We actually have one here in our hometown of Marietta.
All right.
At the VFW here. And so that event, we're looking at probably bringing in a Tuskegee Airmen. We brought them in last month.
Wow. Nice.
And that was great for all the job seekers to have that opportunity to meet these great heroes. And also, at the end of the month, we have an Operation Stand Down for the state of Georgia. And that's going to be conducted in Columbus, Georgia. We're expecting 4,000 veterans. And that's when they come in and actually provide all the resources, not only for the veterans, but for the homeless veterans as well.
So explain to people what Stand Down is. I don't think a lot of people know what that is.
Okay, Stand Down is basically a day that's set out for providing primarily for the homeless veterans all the resources that they need in order to get back on their feet.
Okay.
And so they provide suits, haircuts, resume assistance, so these folks can walk in the door with nothing in their hand and walk out, hopefully, with a job. Because when they walk through the door, they're going to give them a haircut, put them in a suit, look at their paperwork for the military, conduct a interview, set up their resume, and then put them in front of the employers. And then they're going to do a separate one for the female veterans at the same time.
Yeah, so talk about the homeless. That's a big number lately. I've been reading about female veteran homelessness. It's getting fairly high. How are you guys addressing that?
And one of the things that we were out doing right now in our outreach is we're working with a couple of organizations. Matter of fact, the artist T.I. Is leading an initiative here in Atlanta right now.
Really?
So we're trying to reach out to those folks and actually try to partner with them. And hopefully we can kind of bring that together with the events that we're currently doing in the cities that we have already laid out, and then pretty much put a better focus on the homeless veterans.
So the partners that you were working with are not just corporate entities, but nonprofits out there too?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And so the nonprofits, do you know, can you share some of the names that you've been working with?
Right now, we're working with Vet Center. They come out to all of our events, and they provide a lot of the resources that the veterans need right there on the spot. They bring out their mobile van, and it allows them to come in, get on the laptops and so forth, to have access that they normally would not have.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sure you're always looking for other nonprofit.
Yes, because this
partners?
is all about collaboration, and that's one of the things that we're trying to focus on, is just bring a lot of these entities together. Because a lot of times we can do more in one place than we can separated the way we are right now.
So what would be success? What would that look like for you and LaJewel in your business?
Success is when we can go into a city and they know that when we come in and set up, that they have all the employers, the resources that they need, all in one place, and that when we walk away from there, that we're hiring a huge amount of folks every time we walk out the door. That's success for us in every single city.
That's a huge impact on a community.
Absolutely.
Huge impact. So what other aspects would you want somebody to know about your business that we haven't really covered?
Really just the fact that we focus on the military community, but we want to bring in the rest of the community as well. So they can join us in this journey, but also realize that you can benefit from this as well. You don't have to be a veteran to benefit from this event, but you can come out and network with the veterans. You can learn a little bit more about their struggles. And at the same time, a lot of these agencies that show up, you normally will only see them at a veteran event.
Right.
So it gives them an opportunity as well to maybe be exposed to some businesses and organizations that they normally wouldn't be privy to. So it's all about the community and bringing it all together. And the bottom line is to help our veterans and their spouses be in a better place, obtain the jobs that they need, and receive the resources that they deserve.
Now, bear in mind, too, for the listening audience out there, when we're talking veterans, but that also entails active duty members, current active duty members, National Guardsmen, reservists, whatever the case may be, because, we're on one big family here, and this family, as any family will do, wants to protect this community, and this community is our country. So, that being said, the aforementioned events that he mentioned, get out to them however you can, because as I had stated before, you will not meet a more qualified individuals out there than our United States military personnel. And as far as the younger sector, so to speak, therein lies some built-in mentor protege programs, I call it, in that aspect. And you mentioned the rapper T.I. It's amazing how many people in the entertainment industry are actually military brats.
That's true.
That is true. So, Leland, one of the things I wanted you to cover real quickly was that a lot of big corporate, even small businesses, don't know what the tax advantages of hiring a veteran part-time, full-time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things out there is tax breaks for folks that hire veterans. And this is something especially huge for small businesses that they can take advantage of. And the information is out there. All you have to do is go out and search. But it's a 9%.
9%, wow.
Right, that they can actually receive on every veteran as far as tax break.
Wow.
When they hire.
Right.
So that can actually be a huge incentive for, especially like I said before, small businesses.
Right. So with that being said, we will make people remember that they big tax credits, those kind of things. But we will be talking about some of the ways that they can get a hold of you on our next segment.
And that being said, like I said, when it comes to tax breaks, remember they're not just a tax break, but you're getting a well-trained individual that will be an asset to your company. And that we'll be back in a minute to wrap up.
Today's episode is brought to you by the National Seminar Series, Making Nonprofits More Profitable, Social Enterprise for Charitable Organizations, as hosted by Quinetha Frazier. Learn how to develop a diverse funds development campaign. We will explore the business models of high-performing nonprofits who make it work and are able to do more to support their mission. Coming soon to 15 cities across the U.S. beginning March 2013. For more information, visit www.theqbrand.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by the book, Laddering, Unlocking the Potential of Consumer Behavior by Eric Holtzclaw. Learn the secret to using consumer behavior to unlock the information you have on your consumers and turn it into successful marketing campaigns and product launches. Available online at Amazon.com and in bookstores starting August 2013. For more information, visit www.ladderingworks.com.
You are listening to People with a Purpose on the Better You Network and A to Zen.fm channel.
So, Leland, you've taken us on this great journey on how you became an entrepreneur and how your business started with you and your wife and stuff like that. So, how do you think this has made you a better person?
Just being able to hear the stories and realize that, our veterans and their families are still struggling. And I think that's made me better, just realizing that, hey, this is an opportunity to assist them. They need help.
Right.
And so it's made me better by realizing that, you got to be thankful for your blessings.
Oh, amen.
Amen. Not, that I didn't before, but it just really makes you focus in on that you have to be really thankful for what you do have. And just being able to work with my wife as well. I think it's made me a better person, more humble, more relaxed than I was in my military days.
Oh, I was going to say, recruiting is a hard duty.
Yes, and that's a big thing that she sees now, that I'm a lot more calm,
right,
than I was back in the old military days. So, but you need that. You need that empathy to be able to sit down and talk to these families and these service members who are sitting there, spilling their heart out, and they're frustrated.
Right.
And a lot of these people, they've they gotten degrees and did all the right things, but still find themselves unemployed. So, and their families suffering. So, being around those folks and knowing that I'm making a difference, it's changed me, made me a better person.
That's great. So how do people get a hold of you? Email, website, social media?
A number of different ways, these days. But one of the best ways to get in touch with us is through our website, because for one, that allows you to go out there and educate yourself a little bit about our programs, our partners, and what we can do. So www.solidhires.com. That's solid and hires together.com. That's the primary way that we would like for our people who are interested to try to reach out to us. Also, they can reach us on Facebook at Solid Hires, and LinkedIn. You can reach us as well, Solid Hires, and also on Twitter at Solid Hires.
Okay.
And if you want to just call us directly, and that's one of the things, we'll always pick up the phone, and that's at 404-913-0592.
And this is the trivia. This is the question we've been asking you. What's your preferred social media platform?
Preferred is LinkedIn.
And why is that?
I agree.
Because it allows me to reach more of the type of people that I need to partner with in order to better help the veterans and their families and help us with our goals.
Let's put it this way. When I start seeing people on LinkedIn, talking about things that I don't need to know about, okay, and I'm not going to, sit on there and say what they've been saying, and then maybe it's time to go move something else. But yes, LinkedIn has been very, very important in getting people, not just veterans, but getting people employed, because it is a business social network, as I'll call it, for people to job search and for employers to find those people. And you're talking about 200 million plus strong right now, worldwide. That's on LinkedIn now. So
and for you, and then Roger's had this. He has people he was in command with, those kind of things, served with, that he's able to find them now. Yeah. That you lose contact with them before. So definitely,
and they're in positions now where we can help each other a little bit better.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I got in touch with someone that was as I was an instructor in the Air Force. I taught aircraft maintenance. That I had not seen or heard from him in almost 15 years. And here he is. But understand one thing for the listening audience. We have over 800,000, well, almost 800,000 veterans in the state of Georgia alone. So I challenge you, both large corporate business and small businesses. If you want some great people, come look at a veteran. And for that matter, look at the active duty side as well, because, active duty doesn't last forever. So please come to the events. Like I said, if you want to get a hold of them, then you go to Leland. We'll give you the information. But that being said, until next week, what are you going to do to make yourself a better you?
Today's episode is brought to you by Lamppost Group. Lamppost Group is a venture incubator. They help aspiring entrepreneurs take their ideas from the planning stages to reality through financial investment and business guidance. Lamppost Group combines the talent of a small venture incubator with the financial capabilities of a venture capital firm to create a system that encourages fast, independent company growth. For more information, visit lamppostgroup.com.